Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes a whole stack of information, digs through it, and pulls out the insights you need, basically. A shortcut to getting smart on complex topics. Today, we're doing a deep dive into, well, something fascinating but also pretty challenging. Understanding manipulative people. We're using Dr. George K. Simon Jr.'s really foundational book, In Sheep's Clothing, as our guide. Now, last time we sort of touched on some of Dr. Simon's big ideas, right? But today, we're going to zoom right in. We want to unmask some specific types of manipulators you might actually run into. The whole point here is to help you spot their tactics, figure out how they operate, and, importantly, give you some practical ways to respond so you can handle these situations with, well, more confidence. Okay, let's get into it. So Dr. Simon's book makes it super clear manipulators aren't just one thing, not a monolith. They show up in all sorts of different ways, different guises, often hiding what they're really after behind, charm, or maybe playing helpless, or even making themselves out to be the victim, which of course makes them incredibly hard to spot sometimes, especially at first.
Absolutely. And what's great about the revised edition of In Sheep's Clothing is how it really drills down into these specific profiles. It gives you kind of roadmap. Because if you think about the bigger picture, whether it's that passive-aggressive friend we all know, or maybe a really overbearing boss, recognizing their specific style, that's the first step, really the most critical one to start disarming their influence. But that does raise a question. How do you even begin? How do you start noticing these subtle differences when they're often so good at hiding them?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It takes practice. So shall we meet some of them? Dr. Simon outlines a few really distinct profiles. Let's start with one he calls the covert aggressive type. Okay, these folks. Masters of subtle control. Real masters. Think about those backhanded compliments, the ones that leave you feeling a bit off. Or the classic guilt trips, like they might say something passive like, oh, I guess I'll just do it myself since you seem so busy. It's all about planting these little seeds of obligation, making you feel bad, but without ever being openly angry or hostile.
Exactly. And that's precisely why they're so hard to spot sometimes. The aggression is hidden, right? You're not seeing shouting or obvious anger. Dr. Simon really warned us about this. Their power is in making you feel responsible for their feelings or creating this unspoken debt. So the way to counter it, you've got to stay calm, consistent, refuse to pick up that guilt they're trying to hand you. Redirecting without getting emotional is key. Maybe saying something simple like, I'm sure you can handle it, thanks for offering, or even just, okay, that's your choice. Right. When you do that consistently, you basically deny them the reaction they want. Their little guilt trip just fizzles out. That consistency, that's your shield.
Okay, so that's the covert aggressive type. Moving on, there's another really common one. The passive-aggressive manipulator. These are the people who will do almost anything to avoid direct conflict. But, and this is the key part, they'll subtly sabotage things instead. Through procrastination or conveniently forgetting things they promised to do, or maybe just sulking until someone else steps in. We've all seen it, right? The roommate who always forgets it's their turn to clean, or that colleague who keeps missing deadlines but has a million excuses.
Yes. And what's really crucial to get here is that their behavior is designed to make you frustrated. They actually thrive on your emotional reaction because it means they're getting to you without having to confront you directly. So Dr. Simon's advice, don't take the bait. Address the behavior, not the implied emotion. Do it factually, neutrally. No accusations. You might say something like, hey, I noticed the kitchen's still messy from last night. Let's make sure it gets sorted out by this evening. It means you have to call it out directly. Yeah, but calmly. And you have to be ready to follow through with clear consequences if it keeps happening. Things like maybe formally dividing up chores with clear deadlines, or if it's work, maybe escalating the missed deadline issue. You're essentially refusing to play their indirect game.
Makes sense. Refuse the game. Okay, then there's the narcissistic manipulator. These individuals, well, they need admiration like oxygen, and they are incredibly skilled at twisting situations so everything revolves around them. If you try to talk about your feelings or something you need, they might just brush it off with oh, you're just overreacting, or somehow make it about their problems instead.
That's spot on. Their fundamental need, their core drive, is ego validation, and they often don't hesitate to dismiss or invalidate your feelings to get it. So Dr. Simon's strategy here is really clear. Set firm boundaries, very firm. And, this is critical, do not feed their ego. Don't get drawn into arguments or long emotional explanations. You need to prioritize your own self-worth. State your needs or your position clearly, calmly, concisely, and then be fully prepared to disengage. to walk away if they ignore or trample on those boundaries. Limiting your emotional investment and just consistently, almost robotically reinforcing your boundaries. That's the key. They can't really manipulate you if you refuse to engage with their script, you know?
Right, don't play their game, don't engage with their script. Okay, one more major type to cover. The victim playing manipulator. Oh yeah, these folks excel at using guilt, but in a different way. They portray themselves as completely helpless, totally overwhelmed, maybe just tragically unlucky. You hear lines like, oh, I'd love to help, but I'm too overwhelmed right now. Or maybe it's always me, isn't it? I always end up suffering.
This one's tricky, isn't it? Because our natural human instinct is often to feel compassion, to want to help someone who seems to be struggling. The crucial insight from Dr. Simon here is about balance. You need to validate their feelings, acknowledge their struggle seems real to them, but without caving in to whatever they're trying to guilt you into doing. And definitely without taking responsibility for fixing their problems. So you might respond with something like, I hear you're struggling with that, and I'm sorry it's tough, but I can't take that on for you right now. Or maybe, wow, it sounds like you're really overwhelmed. That sounds difficult. What steps are you thinking of taking to manage it? See the difference. You offer empathy for the feeling, the struggle, but you firmly refuse to provide the solution or take ownership of their issue. They need to take that responsibility themselves.
Okay, wow. So we've sort of unmasked these different types, the covert aggressive, the passive aggressive, the narcissistic, the victim player, and we've touched on some ways to counter them. But, I mean, the big question now is, how do you actually do this? How do we put this knowledge into practice effectively day to day? It feels like a lot to keep in mind, especially in the heat of the moment.
It definitely can feel overwhelming at first, totally normal. But Dr. Simon really emphasizes that these strategies get easier, more effective with consistent practice. It's like building a muscle. And he offers a really practical, manageable approach. He says, look, don't try to overhaul everything all at once. That's setting yourself up for failure. Instead, start small. Pick one relationship, maybe one situation where you often feel manipulated or uncomfortable. Just observe it for a bit. Then choose just one tactic to try out. Maybe it's practicing saying no clearly and firmly without over-explaining. Or perhaps it's trying that neutral, factual approach to address a passive-aggressive comment. Just pick one thing and consciously try it out this week. See what happens.
What's really powerful about In Sheep's Clothing, I think, is that it's not just theory. It's not just an academic book. It's designed as a hands-on guide for the real world. It really aims to equip you not just to understand the what and why, but to actively start changing the dynamics in your relationships, one small step at a time.
That's a great way to put it. Understanding these different manipulator types, it really does feel like getting a detailed map, maybe through a kind of psychological minefield. Dr. Simon's work, In Sheep's Clothing, it definitely gives us tools to navigate these tough interactions with, a lot more clarity and hopefully more confidence too.
Absolutely. And maybe that leads to a final thought, a deeper question for you, the listener, to consider. How might recognizing these specific patterns, these different faces of manipulation, how might that not only protect you from, undue influence or feeling drained, but also how might it actually empower you to start building and cultivating healthier, more authentic, more genuinely reciprocal relationships in all parts of your life moving forward?
Something powerful to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Stay aware out there and stay strong.